My name is Ava, and for as long as I can remember, I've always been living in the shadow of my older sister, Mia. We weren't twins, but we might as well have been. Mia was everything I wasn't. Bright, outgoing, and always the center of attention. Our parents, Paul and Diane, adored her. She was the one they celebrated, the perfect daughter. Me? I was the quiet one, the one who was often forgotten. I spent most of my life blending into the background, trying not to stand out, but also hoping one day, somehow, I'd be seen. Growing up, it was clear that Mia was the golden child. Her grades were perfect, she made friends easily, and she could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I struggled. No matter how hard I tried to please my parents, no matter how many hours I spent on my homework, I just couldn't keep up with Mia's effortless success. I was never the top of the class, never the popular one, and never the child my parents seemed to truly notice. I remember one afternoon, after Mia had received yet another award at school, my father turned to me and said, "Ava, why can't you be more like Mia? She's setting such a good example." Those words hit me harder than anything. Mia was always the standard. I was always the afterthought. No matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, I could never escape Mia's shadow. At first, I tried to ignore it. I tried to carve out my own identity, but it was like trying to breathe underwater. I felt suffocated by Mia's brilliance and the weight of my parents' expectations. I started to retreat into myself, into my books and my art. But even then, I wasn't enough. "Ava, why do you waste your time drawing? What's that going to do for you?" my father would say. Meanwhile, Mia was excelling in everything, preparing for college, with a future so bright it was blinding. But despite all of this, I never stopped loving my family. Mia and I had a complicated relationship. We were sisters, after all. She loved me in her own way, but sometimes her sympathy for me felt more like pity. She'd often say, "Ava, you have so much potential. You just need to try harder." It never felt like encouragement. It always felt like a reminder that I wasn't enough. High school came and went, and the gap between Mia and me only widened. Mia became president of the student body, and I found myself in the art club, a quiet corner of the school where I could lose myself in my drawings. But even my art went unnoticed by everyone, including my parents. "Drawing? You really think that's a career?" my father would scoff. But Mia? She was destined for greatness. She was going to study medicine, and everyone praised her for it. Meanwhile, I could barely get my parents to acknowledge the things I cared about. Then came graduation. Mia stood up at the ceremony as the honor student, giving a speech that left everyone in awe. My parents sat in the front row, their eyes filled with pride as they watched Mia. And me? I sat in the audience, feeling like a ghost. The ceremony ended and everyone celebrated Mia's accomplishments, but I wasn't part of it. I locked myself in my room, holding back the tears. That night, as I sat alone, I realized something that shattered me. I had spent my entire life trying to be seen by my family, but no matter what I did, I was always in Mia's shadow. The next morning, my parents announced that they were throwing a huge celebration for Mia. They talked about it like it was the most important thing in the world. I should have been happy for her, but I couldn't help feeling invisible. I stayed in my room, drawing, hoping that in the strokes of my pencil, I could find some sense of peace. Then, something unexpected happened. As the house filled with guests and laughter, I found myself facing a choice: continue living in Mia's shadow, or find a way to step into my own light. It wasn't an easy decision, but in that moment, I knew I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't keep trying to please everyone and never being seen for who I was. A week after graduation, things began to change. I was sitting at the breakfast table when my father, looking unusually excited, suddenly stood up and said, "We're going to Hawaii to celebrate Mia's success. It's going to be a family trip." My parents beamed with pride, and Mia practically jumped for joy. But then my father turned to me. "Ava, could you stay home and watch the house while we're gone?" The words hit me like a punch. Watch the house? While they celebrated Mia? It felt like a cruel joke. But it wasn't a joke. My father looked at me as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "Someone has to stay home, Ava. Besides, it's Mia's celebration, right? I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them that I mattered too, that I had just graduated, that I was part of this family. But instead, I just nodded. I understand, I whispered, feeling the weight of rejection settle on my chest. The next day, as my family packed for the trip, I retreated to my room. I picked up my sketch pad and began to draw furiously, pouring all my anger and frustration onto the page. But then, something happened. There was a knock at the door. It was Mia. "Ava, are you okay?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. I didn't look up as I replied, "Yeah, I'm fine. Go enjoy your trip." Mia hesitated and then said, "I talked to Dad. I tried to get him to let you come with us, but..." I interrupted her, my voice tight. "It's fine, Mia. Just go. I'm fine." She sighed but left me alone. I didn't feel sorry for myself anymore. The truth was, I was sick of being the quiet one, sick of being the second choice. For the first time in my life, I was truly alone in the house. At first, it felt strange. The silence was deafening. But soon it became a kind of freedom I had never known. For the first time, there was no one watching me, no one comparing me to Mia. I could breathe. I could think. On the third day of their trip, something even stranger happened. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman I didn't recognize standing there. She smiled warmly and introduced herself. "Hello, Ava. I'm Caroline. I'm your mother's cousin." I stared at her, confused. I had never heard of a cousin named Caroline. But there was something about her smile that put me at ease. She stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on my paintings. "These are incredible," Caroline said, her voice filled with admiration. "Did you paint these?" I nodded shyly. "It's just a hobby." Caroline didn't seem to think so. "No, this is talent, Ava. You should pursue this. You have something special." I was speechless. No one had ever said anything like that to me before. Not my parents, not Mia. I wasn't used to being seen. But Caroline was different. She was looking at me as though I mattered. She continued to ask me about my art, my inspirations, my dreams. For the first time, I felt like someone truly understood me. Caroline was different. She wasn't like the others who always told me to be more like Mia. She recognized me for who I was. She believed in me. After a while, Caroline stood up and reached into her bag. "I want to help you, Ava. I believe in your talent," she said, pulling out a check and handing it to me. "This is for your future." I looked at the check, stunned. $50,000. It felt unreal. I tried to refuse, but Caroline insisted. "Take it. It's an investment in you, in your future." Tears filled my eyes as I accepted. For the first time in my life, someone saw me. Someone believed in me. But the questions swirled in my mind. Why had Caroline come now? What did she want from me? And how would my parents react when they found out about the money? When my family returned from Hawaii, everything felt different. I was anxious. I didn't know what to say. Mia rushed in first, smiling as usual. "Ava, I'm back. How have you been?" But when my parents walked in, the mood shifted. My father noticed the check sitting on the kitchen table, and his expression darkened. "What is this?" he asked, holding it up. The air thickened as I explained. I told them about Caroline's visit, how she had praised my art, how she had given me the money to pursue my future. There was a long silence. My parents didn't know what to say. And then, suddenly, Mia spoke up. "Isn't this a bit much, Ava? While we were away, you accepted money from a stranger?" I was stunned. Her voice was sharp, laced with something I couldn't quite place. Jealousy? Disapproval? But then my father spoke, his voice low. "You've always been the quiet one, Ava. Maybe it's time we finally recognize that you have your own path to walk. It's not about Mia, it's about you." For the first time, I felt seen, but it was bittersweet. Because deep down, I realized that Mia was never the problem. The problem was that I had spent too long hiding in her shadow. It was time to step out.